We are in the VivaTerra studio today, and it is Plant Day. And we have invited Mackenzie, the plant specialist at Botanical Dwellings. Mackenzie, tell us a little bit about what you do.
So I am the plant specialist at Botanical Dwellings. We offer tons of tropical plants, interior design products, and planters to go with all of those plants. And we do a lot of work to help pair clients with the plants that are perfect for your home. So we're going to be finding the plants that are right for these planters today.
Yes.
So certain plants are going to be better for a planter like this. You might notice this planter does not have a drainage hole in the bottom. So when you're trying to choose the plants for a planter like this, it's better to use something that likes moisture. These are all moisture loving. We'll unpot them.
Oh my gosh, that is adorable. Look at this little baby plant.
So this is a peat-based soil, so it's going to naturally retain quite a bit of moisture. But we do amend our soil with orchid bark and perlite so that it's just extra well draining.
Okay.
Particularly because this planter doesn't specifically have a drainage hole in the bottom. So those additives will help keep these plants from getting oversaturated. So we put about 1.5 inch layer in the bottom of this beautiful planter. So this guy is a kangaroo paw fern. I'm just gonna loosen up his roots a little bit. He's a great fit for this planter because he loves moisture, and he's totally fine staying moist for long periods of time, as are the rest of the plants that I'm gonna put in here. So I'm gonna loosen up his roots just a little bit, and I actually want him to spill out the side. So I'm gonna place him right here. So next to this fern, I'm gonna put this beautiful begonia rex. It has this really dark foliage that's gonna contrast so nicely with this guy. So I'm going to loosen up his roots a little bit.
So how big will these plants end up being?
These are plants that will grow. And we're planting a very lush planter today, so it'll be pretty full to start with.
Okay.
Because we want it to look beautiful immediately.
Yes.
Some planters, if you have some more patience, waiting for them to grow into the space, you'll have to replant it more infrequently if you do it that way. But eventually, these plants will outgrow this planter, but there is 1.5 inches of soil on the bottom, so they do have room to grow.
Okay, great.
They have good root systems, but they have plenty of room to expand into this pot.
Perfect. Well, I do like instant gratification, so this is perfect.
So right next to this begonia, we're gonna put these 2 cutie pie little pileas. I'm gonna put them right here as a mid-ground element in this planter. I want to add some bright, beautiful foliage back in. So I'm gonna go with this Selaginella golden moss. This is perfect for this planter because it likes to stay moist. There's tons and tons of different kinds of mosses. This is a moss that crawls over the ground, so it'll stay low and compact in this pot. I'll loosen his roots a little bit. So I'm gonna put him, make sure his root line is at the top of the planter so he can spill out slightly like that, which will be very cute. And we already have a lot of texture and color going on in here. So instead of adding a different variety in this area, I'm going to add another one of these just so your eye has some place to rest while you are looking at your planter. When you're styling a bunch of plants together, it's very much an art form. You have to think about how they all lay together and how they're also going to grow into the space.
So what is the last part of this?
So now that we have all of our root systems loosened and all of our plants arranged how we want them, and this is the step that you can take out and rearrange them before you add that top layer of soil that's gonna tuck them all into bed, as I usually
That's cute.
That's what you're doing. You're putting them into bed, into their new long-term home. So you just have to go through with your soil mix, same soil mix as we used on the bottom, and fill in all of these holes between the root systems. All of the plants in here do appreciate a little bit of higher humidity. So one thing that they will really appreciate is regular misting. Every morning, or if you only get to it a couple times a week, just doing a gentle mist over them, they'll really appreciate it and it'll keep their leaves from drying out as quickly. So for this size container, I would say about 1.5 cups of water is the appropriate volume to add to your planter when it starts to dry out. None of these plants are plants that want more than max 2 hours of direct intense light. And actually most of your indoor tropicals are like that. They don't want more than 3 to 4 hours of direct sun because in their natural environments, they're getting very dappled light through a lush canopy.
Well, this is absolutely gorgeous, and I cannot wait to bring it home and place it on my table. Thank you so much.
Yeah, absolutely. All of these plants are pretty easygoing in terms of their lighting needs. You just gotta stay on top of making sure the planter stays moist.
Perfect.
So I brought in this beautiful Hoya Carnosa Crimson Queen. It's a beautiful plant that loves a trellis. It has these really thick, waxy leaves. So it wants care very similar to a succulent, lots of light, and it wants to dry out all the way in between watering.
So we have these beautiful plant sticks that have come in, and they're super, super cute and darling. So tell us how to do this.
So first thing you do when you want to trellis a plant is get something with vines. So this Hoya here could vine out and trail really beautifully, but they also really love if you give them some structure with a trellis. They'll actually attach themselves to a trellis and climb up. You can see here these vines are just begging for a trellis. They've actually used each other as a trellis to get some more structure.
Like a piggyback ride.
Exactly. So the only thing you have to do to trellis your plant is to identify the key points of growth, which are these nodes, these little plant elbows, and then you want to attach as many of those to a trellis as you possibly can. So I'm just going to insert this trellis about 1/2 inch into the soil, and afterwards I will add some additional soil and just really pack it in so it's nice and secure. But I'm just going to take these vines and gently arrange them. So I'm just going to attach as many of the nodes to the trellis as possible so that they're getting some additional support. So that's all you have to do to add a cute little trellis to your plant. Over time, it'll cover it up a little bit more. You might want to add a larger trellis, that's totally fine. One thing to note, for this particular plant, it wants to dry out all the way. So for such a deep planter, it can be hard to tell when it has dried out all the way. So I always recommend lifting your planter off of its saucer and putting your finger at the drainage hole just to make sure you don't feel excess moisture before you decide to water something like this. So this is a beautiful Calathea lancifolia. Its common name is a rattlesnake plant because of the beautiful pattern on its foliage, and it also has these purple backs underneath, which are very stunning and really get showed off in this beautiful pot. These guys don't like their root system to dry out all the way. They only want about the top 2 inches of their soil to dry. So a water globe is a great solution to keeping this plant moist if you are going out of town or simply if you're a forgetful gardener.
And they come in 3 gorgeous little shapes: round bird and the adorable hedgehog.
When you use a water globe, you first have to thoroughly saturate your soil. That way, after you fill your water globe with water and you insert it, the water doesn't run out immediately. The soil has to be pre-saturated for it to work. And I think it looks beautiful, particularly with this pot. This is the Granada pot,
Granada
right?
pot, yes, the footed pot. It is beautiful. Thank you so much, Mackenzie.
Yeah, absolutely. You said plants, so I am here.